1880 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
They rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds.
KBLA Talk 1580. None but ourselves can free our minds. And we're working on it every day around here. I wanted to spend some time talking about hate crimes this morning, pivoting away from all Washington all the time. But not only that, it's a Talking Point Tuesday, and we're going to be joined the second half of the hour by Kevin Kish, a civil rights attorney, talking about California versus hate and what's being done here around hate crimes. I feel that it is relevant, me personally, to remind us that when we speak of hate crimes, we're really talking about Black people. Of course, we see the even with the conflation that some people equate anti-Israeli with anti-Semitic when clearly they're not the same thing, there is still a rise in actual anti-Semitic hate crimes. We've seen during this presidential election, because the new Confederate Republicans have made transgender people an issue, even though they're a tiny, teeny, weeny, tiny, not even 1% of a percentage of the people in this country, they have made it into a huge issue. So now, a giant rise in the number of attacks against transgender people. So clearly, what's being said in Washington, what's being said in the news, in the popular culture, actually impacts everyday people trying to live their lives and being attacked by white supremacists, by anti-LGBTQ+, by anti-Semites, by people who hate Asians, etc., etc. But throughout all these peaks and valleys, the number one target of U.S. hate crimes continues to be Black Americans, Black people. I modify to say Black people because you can't always tell. And if a person looks Black, they may be subject to attack. And the reason that I point this out is not to be a victim or woe is me, but to put things in context. We are living in a white supremacist society. America is a racist country, whether that's news to Democrats or not. It just is what it is. It's not because woe is me, victim, victim. I love my country. I don't plan to run away. I'm team stay and fight. However, this is what the data shows us. This is not me being emotional, being a snowflake, a crybaby, or a victim. It is what the numbers show us. The data say year after year, ever since we have been tracking attacks based on special protected categories, i.e. race, gender, and sexual orientation, Black people have been the number one targets of such attacks. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that because we should all stay home all day, put our head under the pillow and cry. I'm saying that because when we look at hate crimes, we must look at solutions that protect, provide, and create consequences for those who attack the most vulnerable, the most targeted population, and that's Black people. In South Carolina, they have reintroduced legislation in honor of the commemoration of the Mother Emanuel Church attack. They've reintroduced state hate crimes law because it failed the last time they introduced it. It's called the Senator Clementa C. Pinckney Hate Crimes Act, and it's going to be introduced before the House next year. It adds penalty enhancements and fines of up to $10,000, 5 years in prison enhancement if a crime is proven to be motivated by hate based on race, color, religion, sex, gender, national orientation, sexual orientation, or physical or mental disability. And South Carolina is one of the few states, actually there's only two in the country that don't have a hate crimes law. Some are arguing, well, that's not necessary because there's a federal hate crimes bill. The Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crime Prevention Act of 2009, named in honor of the young white child who was targeted for being gay, and James Byrd Jr., who was murdered for being Black. And so that bill already exists. It's in place. So when you heard people angry about the Stop Asian Hate bill, they were overlooking the fact that there's already a James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. But that's on the federal level. And we can seek and win enforcement on the state, county, and city level, right? And then there's the household level, of which I advocate the Ida B. Wells solution. But which is why I'm a believer in the Second Amendment, but with reasonable limitations, i.e. the banning of assault weapons. And even though we have a federal hate crimes act, the feds can't take every single case in all 50 states, in all the thousands of counties. And so we need to have enforcement on the state and local level. So if South Carolina is able to pass this bill, which is named after a pastor at Mother Emanuel Church, it would create stronger punishments for hate crimes. It doesn't create a new category of crime. A hate crime is a hate crime, but it means that the penalties are greater. And this failed, and it's actually facing debate right now. It's actually not the first time it's failed. Apparently similar bills have failed a bunch of times, despite the NAACP and other organizations and churches pushing for this. And again, just like I said at the beginning of the show when we were talking about the victory around some of the workers, the Disney workers getting their huge settlement for wage theft at those theme parks. These are the victories we need to get ASAP, because I feel like if we do not get these victories now, it's going to become more difficult under the authoritarian new Confederate Republican regime, which is 30 days away from being in charge of just about everything, right? The Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, and the executive branch. In Australia, this is flared up. A surge in hate crimes. Islamophobic and anti-Semitic. Tied to the wars, the military campaigns of Israel. They are finding anti-Islam graffiti. They are finding attacks on people, attacks on multiculturalism, on Muslims. And we've seen it throughout Europe. Anti-immigrant sentiment is part of what's driving this rise in white supremacist hate crimes. And you've also seen, parallel to that, the rise of authoritarian and fascism in Europe. Apparently, we're following suit in these crimes. Are one microcosm of that is Los Angeles, right? Where we've seen a giant jump in hate crimes. And here in LA, we have a hate crime laws. We have hate crime laws and we have hate crime agencies at the city and county level. The LA County Commission, Human Rights Commission, deals with hate, tracks it, reports it, and you can report it to them. We have the LA City Human Relations Commission, which is part of the LA Civil Rights Department. So we have these systems in place, and still an outrageous rise in the amount of attacks, hate-based attacks. Actually, hate crimes in LA County at an all-time high. Love to hear your thoughts on this and whatever else is on your mind. This is on my mind. Again, the rise in fall of various ethnic groups based on the news cycles and national attitudes, but the unwavering and steady and constant attacks on black people continuing to be the number one problem in this area, no matter what the news cycle or the White House happen to be saying. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited!
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornell West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Quarterly Corte back-to-back?
Oh my God!
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DePrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up.
That's what I want.
Did you know that 1 in 6 African American men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer? This month, every time you purchase Gillette's family of products, they'll donate to support Movember. Whether you're looking for Gillette's Best Shave, a regimen to help prevent new shave irritation and bumps, or award-winning beard care products, every Gillette purchase can make a difference in the fight against prostate cancer. Visit pggoodeveryday.com/Movember for details. Exclusions apply.
On behalf of the Ayers family, KBLA Talk 1580 announces the public funeral services for our very own Robin Ayers on Saturday, December 21st, 12 noon, in the living room at the Faithful Central Bible Church, 400 West Florence Avenue in Inglewood. Robin will be sorely missed by all who knew her and the many lives she touched. We will hold on to our fondest memories forever. Family and friends are invited to come celebrate Robin's joyful life Saturday, December 21st at 12 noon in the living room at Faithful Central Bible Church, 400 West Florence Avenue in Inglewood. KBLA Talk 1580 extends sincere condolences to the Ayers family. Robin will always be in our hearts.
I never told you all I wanted to say.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, so I wanted to focus this hour on hate crimes because it's concerning, and it's a huge jump here in LA County. We'll talk about that in the second half of this hour, but it's reflected worldwide. It's seen across Europe, Australia, and that is not good news, right? The state of New York saw a huge jump, a surge in hate crimes over the past 5 years, almost a 13% increase just in 2023. And one of the things they said in New York is that you're seeing more of a targeting of people rather than property. That most of the attacks were against gay men in New York, Jewish people, and black people. It's always black people. And we understand that. If you read the book Caste, or if you are a student of race, you know that there is a racial hierarchy in this country. And according to that caste system, black Americans are at the bottom. And like I said, I'm not saying this to be wah, wah, woe is me. It's not the Oppression Olympics. It is clearly meant to send a signal to electeds and others that while you're pledging to protect the safety of Americans, the safety of black Americans needs to be at the top of that list. And by safety, I don't mean arresting us and throwing us in jail or shooting us for the crimes that others perpetrate against us. LA County, for example. Hate crimes against Latino people increased by 19%. It's funny because the state of California was saying, oh, we've seen this drop in hate crimes of 7% or whatever. But with the new data coming out of LA, instead of a 7% increase, we now actually have a 25% increase, not a decrease. Not a 7% decrease, but a 25% increase. And Supervisor Holly Mitchell, the only black member of the LA County Board of Supervisors, is quoted in the LA Times saying that she's concerned the next report will be even worse because of the polarization of all things related to wokeness, DEI, being front and center in the national discussion. And I would add to that, I think it's a great point, I would add to that the new administration fanning the flames. So, hate crimes against Latinos are up. Hate crimes against Jewish people up dramatically. Anti-Semitic crimes, but most of those are property crimes. Someone painting swastikas on stuff or vandalizing Jewish-owned businesses. Hate crimes against Muslims increased by 3 times. And many of those are language. Again, people shouting things, slurs and such based on the conflict in the Middle East. But when it comes to transgender people and black people, most of those hate crimes involve violence. Not just slurs or crimes against property, but actual hits on people. Attacks on transgender people about jumping by about 125%, and almost all of them involve violence. Actual physical attacks on people. 1,300 incidents. Now the county's saying we did these huge campaigns to get people to report hate crimes, and the city also did. So maybe that's part of why we see this rise, because more people are reporting what's happening to them, and that Could well be. But it does not take away from the fact that this is a huge problem. And again, we saw a jump in anti-Semitic crimes. We saw a jump in crimes against trans people and Latinos as well, to a lesser degree. But still, almost half of hate crimes are racial. And most of those are against black people. Most of those are against black people. An 8% jump in hate crime against black people from 2022. And so I go back to what I've been saying on the radio, and people, I know y'all don't want to hear it, but we have an incoming administration that is chock full of anti-blackness, celebrates the philosophy of white supremacy. They are new Confederates, neo-fascists. So while you're rushing to protect the rights of LGBTQ plus people and immigrants, which I'm fine with that, let's do it. Let us not forget that you must also protect the rights of black people. Our voting rights, our right to be not murdered by police, our right for our children to not be attacked and harassed at school, our right to learn our own history. Those are the statements I want to start hearing from electeds, along with all the other things you're busy protecting. Don't forget that anti-blackness is the driver of the philosophy of white supremacy, which is clearly in the upswing at this time. We're going to go to Willie calling from Palmdale. Good morning, Willie.
Good morning, Dominique. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say that Custer's last stand wouldn't have been his last stand if he would have allowed the Buffalo Soldiers to help him.
Yeah, well, good thing he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people like to glorify the Buffalo Soldiers because they're positive images of black people, powerful images of black people in a time when we were powerless. But really, when you break down the mission, it's not all that wonderful. It's black people being paid to hunt indigenous people.
I also want to say that the playbook for America is from Israel, because America was split up against British. I'm not trying to say tell you your history. I know you know your history because I'm not college educated.
Go ahead and educate, Willie. We good with that.
Because the British in America was at war, and so it's like they don't have the policy, the world policies. I mean, who's doing the world policies? That's in Israel. I mean, I want to say the Zionists that controls Israel. They don't practice Judaism, and from what I hear, this is what I hear.
Well, I mean, they'll tell you differently. They'll tell you that they do. I mean, I'm not going to make a commentary on whose religion is what, but I know that genocide is genocide, and clearly that's what's unfolding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just my opinion or your opinion. That's what the UN says. And if you look at the definitions, and I know we're not supposed to say that, but if you look at the definitions, Merriam-Webster, I mean, it is what it is. And we don't want to, somebody was in the chat last hour when Tunde Diwe was talking about Israel, saying that we as black Americans need to worry about our own problems. And I understand that point of view, because certainly I've just been out laying it out, talking about hate crimes. But when we look back at what the Nazis did, or the genocide in Rwanda, and you say, or ethnic cleansing, and you say, what did people do? Why was the world silent? We're at one of those moments right now. And so we can't stay silent. We can't stay silent. I mean, you can choose that.
I mean, it's just like the young lady that was on your show before. She today said we have to speak on it. We have to speak out on it.
Yeah. I believe that if you don't, it corrodes and corrupts your soul. And if you look right now at what's going on in Israel and in the United States, you see these parallels, right? Donald Trump, Judge Juan Merchan decided to get a tiny little inch of a backbone and say that, Trump doesn't get immunity from the corruption conviction that already happened based on what the Supreme Court said. Of course, they're appealing it in 27 different ways. And if it ends up with the extreme court, he'll still end up scot-free. But at the same time, in Israel, you've got a corruption trial going on for Netanyahu. They're mirror images of each other. There are these two people that are escaping jail, prison, literally, by being the chief executives of their countries. That's not good. It's terrible. It's ugly. And, Tandiwe made the point that all these 45,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, women and children, were killed by Israel under a democratic government, a Democratic Party government. Well, I can't even imagine what's coming when Trump's son-in-law already is waxing poetic about the beachside property in Gaza. We'll be joined by a special guest next hour. I thank you for your call, as always, Willie. Kevin Kish joins us when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Police in Madison, Wisconsin believe the 15-year-old girl who shot at Abundant Life Christian School died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The incident resulted in the deaths of a teacher and a student, with 2 students critically injured and others recovering. President-elect Trump criticized the Biden administration for auctioning border wall pieces, warned Mexico and Canada about the border crisis, threatened Hamas over hostages, and supported the polio vaccine amid reports of RFK Jr.'s opposition. The new Los Angeles DA Nathan Hochman is skeptical about the Menendez brothers' bid for release after nearly 35 years in prison. He dismissed claims that their alleged abuse wasn't taken seriously at their 1995 trial. NBC Studios revealed a motion poster for next year's Superman film. Director James Gunn announced a teaser trailer release on Thursday, with the film hitting theaters on July 11th, 2025. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New deals just dropped at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select holiday decor clearance. Plus, save with weekly deal drops on appliances, tools, and more. Valid 12/12 through 12/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers snapped a 3-game losing streak Monday night by dropping 144 points on the Utah Jazz. James Harden scored 34 of his 41 points in the first half. The championship game of the NBA Cup tournament is tonight in Vegas. Milwaukee takes on Oklahoma City. $500,000 to each player on the winning team. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the nation, is 11-0 after a 32-point win over Cal Poly. Bruins forward Janiyah Barker filled up her stat line with 12 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 block shots. Former USC quarterback Caleb Williams continues to have a rough rookie season in the NFL. The Chicago Bears are 4-10 after losing at Minnesota Monday night. The 10 losses are more than the number of defeats Williams had during his 2 years at USC. Williams was 18-8 as the Trojans quarterback. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whether you're going over the river and through the woods in the capable Silverado 1500, getting the choir to church on time in the 3-row Traverse.
Thank you!
Or driving cross town to deliver your famous Cajun-spiced holiday turkey in the Equinox EV, America's most affordable EV with a 315-plus mile range. Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Now during Red Tag, get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
Thank you! If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The revolution will not be televised.
This is Brother Cornell West. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm full of joy and delight to announce that I'm joining the precious family at KBLA Talk 1580, founded and led by my dear, dear brother Tavis Smiley himself. Yes, the name of the show is Truth Time, and I'll be working with the inimitable Nina Turner out of Cleveland, Ohio, sister of great vision, and we will be on weekdays at 12 noon. We will be following Brother Tavis Smiley's show. We will begin Monday, January the 6th. That's right, Monday, January the 6th. Get ready for a different kind of insurrection. We coming with Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer and Curtis Mayfield and Aretha Franklin, and gonna add a little Gil Scott Heron too, as Nina Simone sits at the center. That's right.
The revolution will be live.
That's what we gonna do. Please come with us on this fantastic voyage.
The revolution will put you in the driver's seat.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
And I started off talking about hate crimes in the general sense. I'm pleased now to welcome a civil rights attorney whose career has been dedicated to public service and advancing justice for disadvantaged communities. He was appointed by Governor Edmund Brown Jr. as director of the Civil Rights Department in February of 2015. He was reappointed to that position by Governor Newsom in 2020, and the Civil Rights Department is the largest state civil rights agency in the country. It's the institutional centerpiece of California's commitment to protecting its residents from unlawful discrimination in employment, in housing, public accommodations, and from hate violence and human trafficking. Attorney Kevin Kish, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. I know I was talking about the LA County, the jump in LA County hate crimes earlier in the hour, and tracking how that actually changes the whole balance of our statewide count, our tally. We had been touting a drop in hate crimes, and with this new data, it's an overall rise. How do you process that?
Well, something that we know about reported hate crimes is that they are, across the country and in California, significantly underreported. There are many different avenues for people to report, and the numbers all change. But what we can say with confidence is that over the past few years, the number has been on the rise. In fact, nearly double the number reported statewide since 2019, between 2019 and 2023. So I'm always a little cautious about attributing too much to those numbers, simply because we know that most people don't report anyway, right? Yeah. We also know that this isn't new. So one thing that it could be showing is that people feel more comfortable reporting. But I think it's also safe to say that there is a lot of hate violence, a lot of hate incidents out there that are targeting people and making them feel unsafe and causing harm.
Yeah. I think that's right. I know that I've had micro and macro aggressions hurled at me, and I've never reported it. And I'm not, a wallflower. I'm not a shrinking violet by any estimation.
Right.
I talk for a living, so it seems like there would be massive underreporting. But that said, we're hearing a lot from elected officials and others that they are sort of bracing themselves for what we could see under this new administration, given, at the federal level, given just the rhetoric that we heard on the campaign trail and since. And as a Black American, I personally have been making an appeal. I think it's great to protect LGBTQ plus people and immigrants and everybody else. But what I'm not hearing is people calling for any protections for Black Americans, despite the fact that we consistently are at the top of the targeted groups when it comes to hate.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, for many, many years, Black people very consistently have been the most frequently targeted victims of hate crimes and hate incidents. That's true today. It's been true in the past. And I think to take this work seriously and to do this work seriously, we have to grapple with that fact and acknowledge it.
So, I mean, as a Black American, I think there was a lot of misunderstanding with people thinking that the Stop Asian Hate didn't apply to Black people, because really what it did was, from my understanding, bolster anti-hate crime initiatives at the local level for anyone that was a victim of those crimes. And maybe people didn't understand that there was already a James Byrd Jr. Federal Hate Crime Act that was meant to, target anti-Black hate. But why is it important to have those initiatives at a state level, at a county and city level? We see South Carolina struggling to get one such law off the ground. Why is that even important?
That is a great question. I mean, it's important because people tell us that it is, right? Communities have been saying for a very long time, we are being affected by hate. It is harmful to us, and we want there to be a government response. And so what California has done since 2022 is really an all-of-government approach to combating hate and to providing services to people who experience it. So, for example, one program is the California versus Hate resource line and network that is operated out of the department that I lead, the Civil Rights Department. And this is a hotline that isn't just a place where people can call in and report. I mean, people have many options for calling in and reporting something that happened to them. As we've said, most people don't do that for various reasons. This hotline connects people with resources on the ground in the communities where they live. And it's a direct result of advocacy from different communities across the state, including Stop AAPI Hate, including Black advocacy groups, to say, look, this affects all of us. And a point that I want to make is that it's not like this is a zero-sum game, right? It's not like if hate is directed against one community, the rest of us can breathe easy and we're all safe. A rise in hate tends to affect everybody, right? And so if there's an increase in hate against Asian Americans, as we saw during COVID when they were scapegoated for the virus, that rise also affects Black people. It affects LGBTQ people. It affects Latino people. It affects all of us.
So when we see that rise in attacks against any protected group, they seem to, or supposedly protected group, they seem to have a contagion to other groups as well?
Well, absolutely. I mean, hate isn't limited, right? And it's also a tactic of folks who want to see a divided society, to pit different groups against each other. This is a longtime tactic of white supremacists. And what we see is that we have to serve everyone at the government level. Mm-hmm. And if hate is impacting one group, it's likely to be impacting other groups.
So we have a statewide hotline. You mentioned the California versus Hate is a whole thing. It's a campaign. It's a website, caversehate.org. And when would I call this hotline? What kinds of situations would I use this hotline for?
Great, thank you. So one of the reasons why, as we've just said, hate crimes, hate violence, hate incidents are underreported is that people don't actually know. People aren't lawyers. They don't know if something is unlawful or not.
Right.
And so, right, like, who knows? Now, if somebody is assaulted on the street because of their race, because of their perceived religion, because they are perceived to be gay, for whatever reason, they can call the police, and many people do. Other people don't feel comfortable doing that. And so with the California versus Hate Resource Line and Network, it is not a law enforcement reporting hotline. We can help connect people to law enforcement if that's what they want to do. But more importantly, we don't care whether what happened to them is a hate crime. Was it a hate incident? Was it that they perceived that they were targeted for negative treatment because of a protected characteristic? It doesn't actually matter because the harm has been done. And so what we want is for people who do feel that they've been targeted for hate in whatever form to call and get resources that they perceive as useful. So if you call, we can connect you with what we call a care coordinator. And maybe you are interested in mental health counseling services. Maybe you are interested in community resources that support you in other ways. Maybe you're interested in legal aid or housing assistance. And all of that is possible when you call the hotline. People have different needs when they experience hate. And what we've heard consistently over time from communities is it's not necessarily that people want to file a police report. They might want counseling. They might want to talk to a lawyer. They might want some financial assistance that could be provided by an organization in their community. And we're set up to connect people with those resources.
And that's 833-866-4283 or 833-8-NO-HATE for those who know how to dial letters on their phones.
Right.
833-8-NO-HATE. We're talking with attorney Kevin Kish. He's the director of the Civil Rights Department here in California, and we'll continue that conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks to Total Wine, you saved more on all the gifts for the ones you adore. Wine, spirits, beers, all nestled on shelves. Got some advice from our helpful elves. Oh, so many gifts to explore when you go to Total Wine and more. Bottles so delightful, whoa. Priced so amazingly low.
Curbside pickup and delivery available, and the lowest prices for over 30 years only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you tired of being stuck without internet access? Connect and go with LA County Library. It's simple. Visit your local LA County Library location and borrow a hotspot for free to get Wi-Fi wherever you are.
I was so excited when I heard the sandwich was back. What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken. It's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
you're getting a winner.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
We've been talking hate crimes and what to do about it. I'm speaking with the Civil Rights Department Director for the state of California, Attorney Kevin Kish, and you guys are having a Stop Hate town hall meeting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that we know that we need to do is get out into communities, right? Like, people don't think necessarily when something bad happens to them to pick up the phone and call the government. People don't necessarily know how to do that, or they don't want to do that. So government needs to come to people. We've been talking about how important it is to acknowledge that Black people are the most frequently targeted for hate violence now and in the past. That's just an ongoing historical reality. And so these town hall meetings that we're doing in different communities around the state are intended to bring government services to people where they are. And so it's part of our general outreach initiative to say, hey, we're not behind these closed barriers. We're not in some castle behind a moat. These services are intended to help people. And in order to help people, we need to go to where people are.
Okay, so what, when, where, why? I mean, we kind of know why, but what, when, where, and how can we be part of it?
Yeah, well, this interview is actually part of this series of town halls that California Black Media has been organizing to help Black communities get information about California versus hate and other anti-hate resources. As I sit here talking to you right now, I'm not sure when our next town hall meeting is going to be, but there's always information on our website and on the California versus Hate website, cavshate.org.
And what's the California Civil Rights Department website?
That's a great question. It is, give me 1 second.
Well, we can.
I have to,
Sorry about that.
calcivilrights.ca.gov.
Okay. calcivilrights.ca.gov. All right. So, how would I know when I should, say I've been the victim of a hate crime or an attack, how would I know when I should go to the city versus the county versus California versus hate.org?
Well, that's a really good question. My answer to that is go where you feel safe. LA County has an LA versus hate line. They are the ones who put out this hate crimes report just recently, showing this dramatic increase in LA County alone. And our statewide hotline is based in large part on that model because it's been successful for LA. The problem has been not every place in the state is LA, right? Not every place has the same
No doubt.
resources.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we worked with our partners at LA County and then deployed a very similar model statewide in every county in the state. And I can tell you that in the first year of operation, we got reports of hate from more than 80% of California counties, so across the entire state. So, in answer to your question, where people should go, one of the reasons why we don't have accurate counts of hate incidents and hate crimes is because all of this information is being reported from different sources. One of our goals at the Civil Rights Department is to consolidate a lot of this stuff so that we have a more full picture about what is actually going on. So if you look at the California Attorney General's hate crimes report, those are hate crimes that are reported to law enforcement and that law enforcement takes, right, and then reports as hate crimes. So somebody in law enforcement has to decide, yes, this was an actual crime within our jurisdiction. That's not every hate incident, as you know well, right? And so people who experience, it could be a hate crime, but it might be what we call a hate incident, which is some kind of interaction that might not rise to the level of a crime. It might be verbal harassment, for example, based on your race, your religion, your sexual orientation, your religion, whatever. You can report to us. You can report to LA County. You can report to a trusted community organization. And one of our jobs at the Civil Rights Department is to look at all of these numbers and try and come up with a more complete picture of what's going on in our state.
Okay, they're talking. They're having a town hall meeting in the YouTube chat right now, and I'm trying to see how I can ask you what they're asking. Okay, so is everything? How do we know when it's actual hate? Is everything said hate? Is everything done hate? I mean, you mentioned that people are not all attorneys,
right?
And crime is crime, or it's an incident. I think it's exactly what you said earlier, is we don't know when it rises to the level when we should make a call. And if we'll be protected, because I think there is a perception that some groups are more protected than others. And generally in our community, Black people, we tend to feel like we're less protected than everybody else.
Right. Well, one of the reasons why people don't report is exactly this, right? Why should I report if I'm not going to be protected, if nothing
Right.
is going to happen? There are other communities that, undocumented people don't report because they don't want to contact law enforcement. So the great thing about California versus hate is, to put it very bluntly, we don't care, right? Like, we don't care if it ultimately is a crime. What we care about is if you feel targeted or attacked because of who you are. And we will put you in contact with services after talking to you that you identify as being helpful to you. And so, again, it's not a law enforcement line. Like, nobody gets investigated or prosecuted by calling this hotline. And the reason for that is that what most people want is support, right? Now, if you've been the victim of a crime, we can help talk you through that. We can help you contact law enforcement if that's what you choose to do. If you want to file a police report, great. But if what you've experienced isn't a crime, but it still caused you harm because you perceive it as hate, we can provide services and help to you.
Yeah. And HW in the chat saying, what about proving things? So what it sounds like you're telling me is you don't have to prove things. If you've been attacked or you've been harassed or whatever's happened to you and you believe it's a hate incident, then you're authorized to call that line and try to figure out what help you need, and someone will connect you to some kind of a resource.
That's exactly right. I mean, what we've heard over and over again, over many years, by the way, because this is not new. It's not like this phenomenon is new, is that law is not always the best tool for this, right? Because if you've been the victim of a hate crime or a hate incident, there is legal proof. A prosecutor has to decide to bring a case. Maybe you're talking to a civil lawyer about bringing a case. And all of these legal processes and burdens of proof don't really work for a lot of people, right? Because a lot of these incidents aren't going to be proven as hate crimes or hate incidents. And so this hotline was specifically designed so that people who feel harm, right, they feel they've been harmed because they've been targeted, can get access to services.
Yeah.
Without having to prove anything at all.
So it's not just data collection, and it's not just it's not law enforcement. It's providing support for people who, by their own judgment, feel that they have been targeted for a hate incident or a hate crime. But data collection is part of what agencies like yours and LA County and the city civil rights do as well. And why is that part important?
Well, data collection lets us understand what's going on in our society. It's really hard to devise policy interventions or programs or services if you don't actually know what's going on the ground. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a lot of, and so, when we tell people that data collection is important, if you've been the victim of a hate incident, that's probably not the top of your list of priorities, right? It's like, oh, I should let the government know that this happened so they can collect data. No, you want access to services, and that's the primary function of this line. But it also helps us get a bigger picture about what's going on, not just what's reported to law enforcement, which of course is very important, but it's not anywhere near the full picture. And so when we have this fuller picture of what's going on, we can say, first of all, we can acknowledge the reality that people have been living in for a long time, right? Like, you aren't making this up. This is real. Like, this is a real problem in our society. And it also helps us work with the legislature, work with community partners to say, what can we do to make this look more like the society we want to live in?
Mm. Well, Attorney Kevin Kish, tell us once again how to contact the hotline and the website. And thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So you can contact us anytime online on our website. You can access us in multiple languages. You can report anonymously. It's cavshate.org. That's California versus hate.org. Or you can call 833-8-NO-HATE. That's 833-866-4283.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got a fully loaded show for you. I'm going to leave you with this Malcolm X quote. He says, if you have no critics, you'll likely have no success. I'm Dominique DePrima. Like my mama used to say, history is now, and we are making it together. Until tomorrow, when we'll have DJ D Nice on this microphone. Be well. One love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Police in Madison, Wisconsin believe the 15-year-old girl who shot at Abundant Life Christian School died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The incident resulted in the deaths of a teacher and a student, with 2 students critically injured and others recovering. President-elect Trump criticized the Biden administration for auctioning border wall pieces, warned Mexico and Canada about the border crisis, threatened Hamas over hostages, and supported the polio vaccine amid reports of RFK Jr.'s opposition. The new Los Angeles DA Nathan Hackman is skeptical about the Menendez brothers' bid for release after nearly 35 years in prison. He dismissed claims that their alleged abuse wasn't taken seriously at their 1995 trial. And DC Studios revealed a motion poster for next year's Superman film. Director James Gunn announced a teaser trailer release on Thursday, with the film hitting theaters on July 11th, 2025. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New deals just dropped at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select holiday decor clearance. Plus, save with weekly deal drops on appliances, tools, and more. Valid 12/12 through 12/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers snapped a 3-game losing streak Monday night by dropping 144 points on the Utah Jazz. James Harden scored 34 of his 41 points in the first half. The championship game of the NBA Cup tournament is tonight in Vegas. Milwaukee takes on Oklahoma City. $500,000 to each player on the winning team. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the nation, is 11-0 after a 32-point win over Cal Poly. Bruins forward Janiyah Barker filled up her stat line with 12 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 block shots. Former USC quarterback Caleb Williams continues to have a rough rookie season in the NFL. The Chicago Bears are 4-10 after losing at Minnesota Monday night. The 10 losses are more than the number of defeats Williams had during his 2 years at USC. Williams was 18-8 as the Trojans quarterback. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue. from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert. The spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA.